guest this afternoon is Mr. Leecent Wallace, the principal of Christiana High School. Yes, what do you mean? Christiana is part of Jamaica. Do you think it's just Kingston alone? Yeah, man, we have to give those rural schools a chance to say their piece. Good afternoon, Principal Wallace. How are you, my brother?
Good afternoon, Mr. Darby, and to your listeners. I am very well, thank you.
Well, first I must start off by telling you, that listeners, many of you know by this because that graduation ceremony has gone viral. And I've been to some graduations, to some top-notch schools in Kingston, and I will
Mhm.
tell you, it can't compare to the Christiana graduation. You should have heard your school band playing, and oh, while they were making the presentation, the band was playing in the background. It was just fantastic. It was a lovely function. I must say I enjoyed it, and I've been getting quite a lot of feedback from people overseas too about that graduation. No, you're here to show off because normally we hear about, they call them, no, the name brand school them, and they talk about call your school, what, the new secondary school. But a long time you're school about from the 1960s. What I'm talking about? News. Listen, man. But I want to learn a bit about you. There must have been a journey for you to become the principal of Christiana High. Where you
Yes,
coming from? Where you born?
yes. All right. Good afternoon again.
Yes, my
I,
brother.
all right. I want to say something about the band though, because you can't just talk about the band at Christiana High School. Let me tell you something. At Christiana
Yes.
High School, we have a staff band that the principal is also a part of. Because I'm a music man too. I play
Hold on. Take time with
instrument.
me. So what do
Yeah.
you do? You sing out which instrument you play. That's interesting.
I play the keyboard and I also play the bass guitar. But
What a
when
thing.
it comes, yes, when it comes to the staff band, so we have. I need to share that aspect of Christiana High with you. So at some other
Yes.
point,
And by the way,
instead
since
of
you mentioned that, the society put a lot of emphasis on academic qualifications. You're going to be a teacher, you
yes,
must have your master's and your doctorate. But the fact
right.
that you're able to play and there's a
Mhm.
sense of music, I should have figured it because the whole function is all about music. And
Yeah.
it's clear to me that those who are listening need to understand that it's not all about just academic qualifications, but your interests can make a big difference. Tell me more,
That
sir,
is so
about
true.
yourself.
All right. So I hail from Manchester. I There's a community in
Oh,
Manchester that is called Craighead.
I
I
know
grew up in
Craighead,
the
yes.
Yes, I grew up in the Craighead community.
Yes.
I went to early childhood school there. I then went on to
Infant school.
Pike. Yes, we call it basic school, infant school at that time.
Yeah, well, yeah.
They have nice names now in early childhood and so
I
forth.
know.
Right. So I moved on to Pike, the Pike community in the close by neighboring
Yeah.
community to Craighead, still in
Hmm.
Manchester, and I went to the all age school there. I'm gonna say this now because not a lot of persons like you and myself will know about the common entrance exam, but that is the one
Yes.
I did, right? I mean, I look a bit young, but I'm not so young. So I did the common entrance exam,
Yes.
and I have a story, but I'm gonna keep it short because I took common entrance. I was placed at Knox College High School at the time.
Right.
That was short-lived because I was booted out of Knox, and I'm not afraid to say it,
Hmm.
because not because I was a bad boy, but because my academic progress was not in keeping with the standards of Knox at the time. And you know what?
Hmm.
Guess where I ended up? I ended up as a student at Christiana Comprehensive High School, a school that perhaps I didn't even want to go, because then Knox is still a traditional high school. Christian high school was just an upgraded high school.
Yeah.
So of course you wouldn't feel so good going to an upgraded high school at the time.
Hmm.
But I ended up here. And the Lord will have it that I am back now as the principal of Christian High School.
So the store that the builder refuses
Became
shall
the head
become the.
con.
Let me tell you something. I love that story because I've been talking to people about that. We have to be very careful that we don't just judge students based on their academic performance. If you
Yes.
see somebody is a leader and sometimes they do not perform well because there are things that you should have at that school. For example, probably they had music. You probably have, I'm sure, well, in my time they had music at Knox. But, and I will tell you something to you are educated, you can tell me, especially boys. The educational system is more, it has been girlified. Yeah, just
Oh,
make
oh
up a
yes.
name.
Yes.
You think the boy pick the grades in the class, I'll have for? They want practical things to do.
That is so true. That is so true. We find that over the years, our girls have been consistently outperforming our boys.
And we cost the
If
boy
we are,
them.
yes, if we're not innovative as an
Yes.
education center, there's a big thing now about boys' education. I think the ministry, some years ago, has been looking at that, how to particularly treat with our boys to get them more involved in school, to get them more participating in the classrooms. And it has to do with hands-on approach, as you quite mentioned.
You want me to tell you something, sir? There's a book, Flaws for Algernon. It says what? The hurried I come on, the hurried I go, the behind I get. It is
Mhm.
amazing that years gone by when probably just the principal and one teacher's wife were trained teachers and the other staff members were pre-trained teachers. They understood certain things very well. They understand that whatever they do is to separate the boys from the girls, treat them differently because they know the needs are different. It's just amazing that those who have gone on to university with their masters and doctorates are just discovering it. It is just amazing.
That is so true. That is so true. Uh, you know, um, my story though
Yes.
is and I just like to share this to your listeners because when I was a student earlier, I
Hmm.
could not pass mathematics, no matter how hard I tried. It was until I got to this school, Christiana High School, I had a sort of focus on that. And I tell you something,
Yes.
I ended up being the top math student at Christiana High School.
No man, lie, tell me, man. No,
No,
sir.
it's true. I couldn't pass math at Knox. I
Yes.
got a distinction at Christiana to the point at that point CXC held on to the results. They didn't release the math result.
Yes.
I was sent a letter with my other results to say I
Yes.
need to come to Kenwood Center in Kingston to do
Hmm.
an interview. They wanted to interview me to see, oh, how this little young man from Christiana Comprehensive High School did so well um, in mathematics. And when I went there, little boy took the bus from Christiana here, went to Kingston. It was 4 students from the entire island.
Yes.
Myself from Christiana Comprehensive High School, a little young man from a school in Westmoreland, and there were two students from prominent high schools in Kingston.
Yes.
And did the interview with personnel from Barbados and Kingston, and within 2 weeks, my math result was released. I got a distinction in math. And I want to say on this program
Hmm.
that I ended up becoming the regional mathematics coordinator for Region 5 in the Ministry of Education in Manchester before assuming role as principal.
So hold on. Is that part of Knox falling in
No, I'm not
Manchester?
casting, I'm not casting any blame on
No, no, no.
Knox.
I'm just saying to you, I wonder because I know of someone who left
Yes.
Pike.
Mm-hmm.
And there's another story which I won't say here because he probably don't want me to say it. But when he went to a particular place and treating like a little boy at
Mm-hmm.
a travel agency, he ended up being a lecturer at the university. By the way, he's now a professor in New York. Ended up teaching some of the very management people at University of the West Indies. So that's why I ask. I wonder if you end
Yes.
up supervising some of those same teachers. But I hope the problem we have sometimes, persons like you become arrogant and want to prove what I've achieved. I hope
Right.
that you haven't fallen into that pothole
No,
because
no, I describe myself as a very humble individual.
yeah.
My sole purpose is to inspire others and
Mhm.
more so others that I see are heading in a sort of direction that I was heading.
Yes.
I try to help young people.
Hmm.
In my capacity as principal of Christian High School, I have seen where students, even from the very Knox College lately, have been sent out give none of that opportunity right here at Christiana High School and have made significant strides and progress and are doing extremely well now. And I don't want to focus on Knox to say that Knox is a
No,
bad
nothing is
place.
wrong because use that as an example.
Right.
By the way, I
I
went
do-
to Knox, but I will
right.
tell you that we have to be careful how we teach math. Math has to be practical. Because, for example, if you tell me 2 plus 2, I will put on 22, right? But if you take up yam no me use yam at Chilani, I take up 2 pound of yam, I add 2 more pound. Me going realize that 2 pound plus 2 pound plus 2 pound will equal to 4 pounds.
Right.
So oftentimes we teach maths like we are teach some sort of thing up in the moon. We must make it practical. For example, I learned about what? To measure a square. Why the hell you didn't say go out on the football field? Go measure up the football field. So we need
Yes,
to make maths. We need to link maths to real life. Maths is real.
that is so true. That is so true. And I've been using my experience,
Yes.
my journey, my educational journey to uplift others here at Christiana High School
Right.
and also within the quality education circle
But
in which
very
I
quickly
serve.
before I go for the break, and we're going
Yes.
to come back on again. Which after you left, which college you went to, and probably university? I don't know. You
I,
tell me.
I know all the top universities in Jamaica. I went to Michael Teachers College. I went to
You
uni.
say I'm sure off, no? Michael, the
I'm
Michael.
a Michael man. I'm a
Oh
Michael man. So
yes,
I'll wave that banner very high.
the
All
poor
right.
man's university. Oh yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
I did my bachelor's degree at the University of Technology. I did
Yes.
my
Oh, you someone
master's.
at my same school too. But what is this?
Yes, you went there.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. I had my master's at the University of the West Indies, and I'm now a PhD candidate at the Northern Caribbean University.
God have mercy. What a thing. What a thing. The little boy would they kick out. By the way, listeners,
Yes,
let me
I'm
tell you
here.
something. I have the experience, of having some bad boy. Know them is big shot. Careful. Mark, if you have criminals in the school, I know you can't keep them. I know my position, you have to send them somewhere until you can rehabilitate them. But remember, me tell you,
Yes.
and that's the little one when I learn. Because sometimes the boy, them, remember the girl, them mature early, the boy, them mature later. Gonna go for the break talking to the principal of Christiana High School. Okay, so come back, we continue the conversation with Mr. Leecent Wallace. Don't move. We are speaking with the principal of Christiana Comprehensive High School, Mr. Leecent Wallace. And what a story. He needs a whole program to talk about himself. There's so much to learn from his experience. But I think we probably will have to have him a second time so we can talk more about that. Welcome back, Mr. Principal.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Derby. But I just want to make a quick correction,
Yes.
Joe. We are not Christiana Comprehensive. Back then, we were Christiana Comprehensive High School because you see, we have endured a number of name changes for the
Yes,
past
yes.
63 years that we have been in
Mhm.
existence. We are now Christiana High School and not
Oh,
Christiana
I just,
Comprehensive High School.
I thought because you said
So,
comprehensive, I just thought, okay, I see.
but then when I was a student here,
Yes.
it was Christiana Comprehensive High School.
And by the way, I still love the comprehensive high school because there's a philosophy behind that. That
Mhm.
when you are a comprehensive school, you involve academics and also other subjects. So,
Yes,
um,
holistic.
yes, so I'm worried about the removal of the word comprehensive because I believe one ought to get a comprehensive education. So
No,
I hope it's, well, I know with you there, I don't have to worry.
I think at the time, it was there were a number of name changes with the schools right across the country, but in keep a lot of the traditional high schools were just
Yeah.
high schools. So
I
these
don't,
were just
I don't like the word traditional.
upgraded, right?
Just say other high schools.
Okay, other high schools, and
Because
that's
that's
okay.
an apartheid education.
So you wanted everyone to sort of have in equity in terms of the names of the high
Right,
schools,
right.
right? So
That's why
I
they
think
must
that was
stop Taliban ministry and everybody stop calling the schools about the traditional high school and non-traditional. That's an apartheid
right.
in education. And we treat them as such, we treat them as such.
That is so true, sadly. But the truth is, as I will say to any of my listeners out there, any
Yes.
parent out there, that these schools, like Christiana High School, one that I came through, has everything to offer to all the children. Once they are able to put their hands and heart in it, and they have good support from the parents, they will do well. I am a living
Yeah.
testament of that.
There's some issues because you have to have your back probably after that. I'm gonna be talking with you because we hear from the private sector, we hear from everybody, but we're not hearing enough from our principals. And years gone by, the Governor General was a principal, members of Parliament, principals play a leading role. But all of a
Mhm.
sudden, I think the society has forgotten about principal. And if Vernon Darby spent probably 15 years in prison, I'll be a superstar. No, the whole society, we need to change the tone, Mr. Principal. That's why you are here. And I'll be talking to you more about making your voice be heard because what you have done, you're a superstar, right? And the
Mhm.
nation needs to know. Now, I have some concerns, and I'm no sure you have some concerns. You mentioned one there for the political representative, this shift school business. Well, I don't know
Yes.
why they call it shift system. Tell me.
Uh, all right. I think um, it was taken on back in the days. I can tell you because Christiana High School has been on the shift system from 1974, which would
Right.
make us 51 years on the shift system to address a sort of overcrowding issue that was in the school system at the time. Sadly, today many schools, including this one, is still on the shift system, and
Mhm.
it has created a multiplicity of problems, not just for the students, but for teachers and for parents
I
as
want you
well.
to tell me some of those problems because they're big words. I don't understand it. Multiplicity.
All right. What we have is
Yes.
students having to get out of bed from as early as 4 o'clock and 4:30, sometimes in the mornings, depending on where they're coming
Hold
from.
on. You mean from a Lime Tree and Great Habitat and those faraway places?
But you know about Sir Darby.
Where
This is
did we come
Christiana
from?
High School that is nestled in the hills of Manchester, right here
Yes.
in the heart of Christiana. We have students from a matter of fact, there are about four parishes that is pretty close to this
Yes.
location. So we have students from St. Anne's Parish. We have students from Trelawney. We
Mm-hmm.
have students from neighboring Clarendon, and even as far as St. Elizabeth.
Yes.
So if you need to get here for 7 o'clock in the morning,
7
depending
o'clock.
on where you're coming from, you need to be out of bed by at least 4 a.m., depending on where you're coming from.
My
And
God.
sometimes during the year, 6 a.m. in the morning is very dark.
No, but
6
in
a.m.
part of
is,
the country is very, very dark.
yes, so it is a challenge, especially in light of the many problems Jamaica is now faced with in terms of crime and violence and so forth, which is
Yes.
this is now said that is under reduced, but we know that the problems that we're having with those children are getting missing sometimes, and
Mm-hmm.
many parents must be really scared. And so it's a real issue because when we get placement at Christiana High School,
Mm-hmm.
for our first form students, a lot of the parents opt to move the children to other schools, not just because they don't want them here, but because of the shift system.
Of the shift system.
Yes.
Another
So,
thing too, which I know of, as I'm an old teacher. Um, I'm sure much older than you are. Is when you finish school, many of us, and I will tell you, 98% of what I do, is due to the extracurricular activities that I participated in school.
mhm.
Right? If I tell you what I did at university, you're going to laugh your head off. You right? No, I'm sure when the shift is finished, those students on the morning shift, they probably have to leave the compound so the other students can come in.
Mhm. That is
How,
quite true.
how do you
And
get them to be involved in extracurricular activities? It must
yeah,
be
all right.
difficult.
So we have coaching staff, and that's the other thing. Our coaching staff has to be very innovative,
Yes,
because when you look at our Dakar program, when you look at our track and field program, these are real issues. These are real concerns. The students who are on afternoon, who comes in for 12 to 5,
yes.
needs to come here by 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning to have their training session so they can finish up and be ready for school for 12 o'clock.
Then I
And
was
then those
tired.
on the, yeah, it has to be. It's a real issue. And you talk about and those who are on the morning shift needs to finish school, finish their classes,
Yes.
and by 12:30, 1 o'clock, they
Mhm.
are on the field of play doing their thing. And so the coaches that now have to be very meticulous in how they put together a sort of special timetable to accommodate them. It's tiresome. It is backward to say, and sometimes we have to go
You see,
above
you're
and beyond.
nice and diplomatic. I say it's stupid. It's not
Yeah,
working. It's just,
well,
and I
you
know it's
can
not
say it.
working, sir. No, no, it is stupid. And I
Yes,
tell you
it is.
something,
It
we
is.
have people in positions who they come up with ideas, they just throw it at educators, and some of them probably have left the classroom long ago. Some have never been into the classroom as such, in terms of teaching in that way. And they just throw out things at you, or they go to university and they learn some new idea from somebody who wants to prove that they are brilliant. And let me tell you something, nothing is new on this earth, you know. Everything has been here a long time. We just discover it. And when we come up with new ideas and push it into the system and it messes up the system, it messes up the future for our young people. The shift system is not working.
It is not. It is definitely
So
not.
what we do? We put the kids
And
in from class to class, and we wonder why they come in and they can't read and write. And then we blame the children, they leave and they can't read and write, and we wonder why. So how you find time to have a little extra lesson after school?
but
Talking
I, and I
about that,
say
yes, go ahead, sir.
yes, and I just say this to you because you mentioned that.
Mhm.
It's very important to point out here
Yes.
that the schools that are operating on a full day system
Mhm.
gets more teaching and learning contact time than the schools that are on the shift system. But yet, the Ministry of Education expects us to perform equally like every other school in our external exams. It is just not fair.
But when you have to understand, they are not in the classroom. And sometimes we have left, we have forgotten what life was like in the classroom. Now, another thing I'd love to talk about is this whole idea, because we think that education is like in the factory. You put the things on a conveyor belt and they're moving right along. And that's the way we are treating the education of our students. And we have another minute. We're going to take a little quick break and come back to you. But this whole idea of moving children from two things, moving children from class to class and not recognizing that boys mature later in life than girls and putting them together at the same age, it is not working. A girl at 11, 12 is far more mature and will attack her work in a more mature way. The boys get serious at the age of 40 than 50, and probably you know when you went to Knox, you never mature yet. But by the time you put to Christian or you turn big man, no, you start to have little sense. I tell you what, let's go for a little quick musical break and we'll come back, we talk of that. But you have to come back, you know, so 'cause we need to hear from our principal. We tell her hear from some people who have nothing to offer the nation. Welcome back. You're listening to Spot On with Vernon Darby coming to you live from Kingston, Jamaica. And we are talking with the principal of Christiana High School. And let me tell you something, this program could be just about him, but we're going to have him another time because he has a story to tell. And we need to hear, Jamaica needs to hear that story more. Back to you, Mr. Principal. I mentioned two things, and one is the fact that boys mature later than girls, and
Mhm.
also that we move students from class to class, whether or not they are competent at a particular area. And then when they reach grade 11, we find out that they can't read and write. And you know that when I spoke at the graduation, I mentioned the fact that what we should be looking at is not just going from class or CXC exams, what we should CX exam passed, but looking at what value has been added to that child in terms of attitude, academic achievements, the total development of the child. I'd love to hear your position on that one.
Well, that is so true. You touched a very important point
Yes.
because I keep saying and I can use Christian High School, for example, because we get students right across the spectrum
Mhm.
from year to year. And when I say right across the spectrum, oftentimes we get students coming in at entry level who are reading above and beyond. Some are very up top, some are in the middle,
Yes.
and there are some who are down below. And when we say down below, we're talking about students who are reading at a non-starter level. We have some terms that is used at the early childhood level to describe reading. So we have non-starters, either you're reading at pre-prima or prima non-starter or at different grade levels, grade 1, grades 2, grades 3. And remember, at high school, we start at grade 7. Significantly, we find that a number of students who comes in and cannot read. It's unfortunate that they were just pushed through the system, as you said, and I'm not sure what can happen, but the government, I understand, and the Ministry of Education needs to focus and seriously focus on early childhood education and at the primary level to get these students to read before they get to us. But what we do at Christiana High School when they get to us is important, because what we say to students, our job is to make sure that by the time you get to fifth form, that you are able to read, you are able to be literate, and you can count. And I always say to my students, if you cannot graduate from Christiana High School with at least 1 or 2 CXC subjects, you must leave with a skill and have some manners, and you must be able to be literate and numerate.
Manners?
I would have done my job.
Manners is something that we have abandoned, Mr. Principal.
Yeah, but we have to bring it back, Mr. Darby. We
at
have
all
to
levels, whether it's in the church, government, nobody, I should say nobody, but we don't know what is good manners again, It is just amazing. How do we know? We have to make sure, and that's where I'm calling upon the JTA, and the JTA have big voice when it comes to salaries. We need to have the JTA speaking on these issues more. And we need parents too. But up to parents, by the way, I'm one of them who believe, I believe, I thought it was a fact, that each child must have a mother and a father. When you register people, what do you register? Just the mother or the father? Or tell me, because I think it should be compulsory, that a mother and a father should be registered.
Yes, I think so too, because the truth is, what we find in many of our schools now is that a significant amount of mothers are parenting by themselves the children, and it's difficult for them. And when you look at what is happening with these children, if we are able to share some of the stories that for some of these children at high school that have single mothers, the struggle is real.
But I tell you something though, this is where a lot of ladies are going to be annoyed with me. We love to push the single mother. You know why? Because we want to blame the man them. And I'm telling you, women are to be blamed for one. Some of them just downright careless. Right? Now, when you're careless and you go A, B, C, D, end up with a child, you have yourself to be blamed. That also the man should be responsible. Or if you function away, you're not a family person. I believe some people should marry that all, Because you can't have a child and you have a gentleman and meet your customer and worthless. You must go one way. So this whole idea of blaming men and putting down men, I think is part of the whole idea of putting a damper on men's spirit, and men can't stand up in the society because of that. Women, you are to be blamed also. You can pick them up also. So don't blame the man alone. Then you walk out, I am a single parent. Really? There are men who are also single parents too. So you might sound like I'm defending the men. No, I'm not. But one thing another thing a lot of women do too, which I'm aware of, if there's a problem with the man, then take it out on the children. They cuss them off, them tell them how them worthless, like them worthless pooper. And we need the nation to address that too. Yeah, so but over to you, Mr. Principal, after low, we'll have about a few more minutes, but you have to come back again. So
definitely.
Your time now, you are now the Minister of Education. I've just appointed you. Speak to the nation for the next, let me see what basically next probably 3 minutes.
As a minister, what a big show. But
yes.
All right. So, my thing is that education in Jamaica must remain a beacon of hope for the people of this country, because without education, we are heading nowhere and nowhere fast. The truth is, there's much work to be done, especially in schools like Christiana High School. When you talk about infrastructure expansion and shift system elimination, that must be priority for the government right now, where these schools like Christiana is concerned. We must be able to build additional classrooms to phase out the shift system and allowing for full day instruction and deeper student-teacher engagement. That is very, very crucial. We must be able to look at our labs. We must be able to upgrade our science labs. We must be able to, you talk about boys' education, which is very important. We must be able to look at our vocational workshops and to improve those for our boys in particular, even though we're not leaving out the females, because we find now that a lot of females are even stepping into these positions and are doing well. Digital learning spaces to support a modern skill-based curriculum is very, very important. And so that is what I would focus on to include ensuring that students are leaving the early childhood system and the primary school system literate and numerate into the high schools. That is very, very important.
But Mr.
We need an
Principal,
overall of our education system.
if I'm a leader, I don't want people too bright, Then too bright, they will question everything.
You don't want people too bright.
No, sir. Because next thing I want to make some decision and they want to come question it. So when they can't read and write, it's better for me.
No,
What a
no,
life,
no,
what a country.
No, we need to get our children reading again.
What a good thing today. Sorry, go ahead.
One principal in Kingston highlighted the gaps, the serious gaps he has in his school.
Yes.
Recently. I don't know if you saw that news in terms of the number, the significant amount of students who are coming into his school who are unable to read, and it created national debate. Right, where people are saying that they didn't know that so many students are coming from the primary system.
Oh, you don't mention one school and I realize it says it affects all schools.
And that's the point I want to make. That is the point I want to make here.
Guess what? I'm in trouble.
So many of us as principals
make the final
are quiet.
Point. We have to leave at the final point.
On the matter. Yes. So my final point is we need to be serious about education in this country. I think the government really needs to look at what they're doing with education. We need more infrastructure. We need more resources. We need more funding. We need better funding. And we need to get our students reading so that the future of this country can be better.
I hope it's reading where you so have your textbook I read. You think me talk, so you have to have a reading book I read. Now you have big business people and ministers, all kind of people, they can't even talk. And civics, I hear they put it back in the schools. So you have it back at Christiana, they have it.
Yes, we have civics.
They probably don't call it civics.
You don't call it civics. It's about embracing national pride and history and so forth.
Which is very important.
So we have a lot of that at Christiana High School in many different forums. So
and the maths do something, they make the maths practical. When it comes to the English language, there was a time they used to write sentences and word. No, write a plain English. Ask the students to give a speech in English and you correct them and they will have fun. Ask them to go up there and give a joke in English. And then you correct them. They have far more creative ways we can teach English and maths. Because we don't care what they say. If they ask how much is 2 plus 2, we still get 22. So maths is a tough one. Mr. Leecent Wallace, thank you very much and congratulations for the road that you have taken. And you could have taken some other big job. Like I would love someone like you to become the Minister of Education, but you go back to your same school and help them out.
Whoa.
What more can we
I'll have to be in politics for that.
You'll be surprised you can have influence without being in politics. But you can also be in politics. Think about that one. Take care, my friend. All the best.
Thank you for having me.
Have a wonderful day.
And thanks to your listeners.
Right. And we'll have you back again, my brother.
Thank you so much. Not a problem.
All the best, Mr. Leecent Wallace.